Hi guys, we're here in the scrap room and I'm just about to do a process video, and so I thought I would show you how I do the photos that I take of my layouts for my process videos. Now the way that I do my photos is not necessarily going to work for everybody. It does require quite a lot of gear, but I already have the gear because my husband was/is a photographer, and so I have access to the supplies. I have a couple of challenges with taking photos. One is that you'll notice that my scrap room has no windows at all, so I have zero natural light. Even if I did have natural light, I live in Canada, so the quality of that light and the length of time that light is around is not that great. So because of that, I take my photos with a flash and I use my DSLR. And it's actually the only thing that I use my DSLR for is my layout pictures. I don't take any photos at all with it, like of my family and my life. I just use my iPhone for that. So that's the camera that I have. It's not like the greatest camera in the world. It's fairly old. Although, you know what, it's all relative. It's not that old. It's basically one of my husband's old cameras when he upgraded. I got his old one. It's a Nikon D90, which was a very, very good camera in its day. So I do take my photos with that camera, and what I do is I just leave the camera right there, and that becomes almost like a little throughway so that I can reach the camera when I'm here at my computer and I need to get the images off the camera and onto my computer, but also I can grab it from the other side when I'm over here. This is where I take my photos. So this is the space in my craft room where I take the photos. So you see those whiteboards right there? I have a couple of them. I just pull one and put it down right here. So I'm about to take some photos, so I will put that right there. So that is a piece of Elmer's Ross craft board, and so it has like foam on the inside of it and then like white cardstock, I guess, on either side. And so I just put that right down there on my phone, on my floor, and then I keep my layouts right here while they're waiting to have their photography done. So that's the layout I'm going to be taking photos of. And again, this ends up being like a throughway because I can reach over from my computer and grab it to read my journaling when I come to that part of my process video, but also I can obviously reach it quite easily from over here when I'm ready to take its picture. So that becomes a really great home for any layouts that need photos or that haven't, basically when it's in progress in terms of photography or process videos. So once I have that down, then I hop over here and I keep my flash in the corner right here. So when I pick up my flash, all that I have to do is open the legs, and this seems like a lot of work when I'm like telling you about it and recording it as I go, but this only takes, I've timed myself, and it takes me about 4 minutes from the moment I decide to take a photo to when my photos are done and I'm over at my computer ready to make the process video. So I just open that up and I put it right here. So my flash is right there, paper's right there. So there's my flash, and the trigger is that little thing right there, and then there is my foam board. And then right up here is where my extra photography stuff is, including my umbrella and some diffusers and stuff like that. So I just grab that umbrella, I just open it up, and I put it right there. So now I'm ready to take my photo. Because I'm short, I have a stool. I turn on the trigger, I turn on the flash, and then I also turn on my camera and turn on the trigger on my camera as well. And now, make sure you take off the lens cap, and now I am ready to take my photos of my layout. And now as I'm taking the photos, I'm just making sure that I want my camera to be flat, like I don't want it tilted this way and I don't want it tilted this way, because if I tilt it, it's going to have that hexagon look to it, or is that what that's called? A rhombus type of look. I want it to be completely square. And so as I'm lining it up in my viewfinder, oops, what I do is I kind of like, I look at the edge of my viewfinder because that's definitely 90 degrees, and then I just line it up so that the corner of my project is even at the top and at the bottom. Because my project is square, but my viewfinder is rectangular, so I just kind of like, I move the whole layout so it's over there, and that way I can make sure that it's reasonably square. There we go. I just check and make sure that I got it. And then I get rid of my stool and I take a couple of well, I take one, so then I just take one from a distance that's on a bit of an angle. I know you can't see what I'm taking a picture of, but I just kind of stand back here, and I always have them be on the same angle so that my thumbnails look really consistent. And so that's my thumbnail, and now I just get, actually I get right down on my hands and knees and I take a bunch more photos of just different parts that I know I'm going to be talking about in my narration. So any special techniques that I did or things that I know I'm going to explain, I take a close-up of. And generally speaking, I just take close-ups of the clusters. So if there's 3 clusters, I'll have three close-ups, and I might just throw in a couple of more, especially if there's something really interesting to look at, like texture or something like that. So I'm going to take a picture of this part of the title, and that'll get my journaling in focus as well. And then, yeah, that's good. And then I'll take a picture of this part of the title as well. Now this is a fairly simple layout. It's really the title is the main kind of area of interest in this one, but I also have some splatter here and some splatter here. So let's take another one of just that, of that splatter over there. And that also catches the photo. And then I always check and make sure, that the photo isn't kind of lit funny because I am using a flash. So that one has a little bit too much reflection. And what I've learned over time is that if I shift everything over here, it will reflect less when that happens. So I'm just going to shift over here and try that picture again. So I like to get a few photos that capture the photo. I try to make sure that I also capture the title, and if it's in 2 places like that, and then any clusters and anything else that I want to talk about. So sometimes I just take a couple of extras, like this layout, for example, doesn't have a whole lot besides just the title and the journaling, which is right beside the title. So I just kind of go through my camera and have a look at all of the photos. Make sure that they're all in focus, which they are because I just use autofocus. I just use the same settings. So I have my camera set on 160 is the speed, and the aperture is f5.6, and my ISO is 200. And I don't know anything about photography or what those numbers, I mean, I know what those numbers mean, but I'm not really into photography. I just kind of found that those are the settings that seem to work the best for, those seem to be the settings that work the best for me. And I don't know if I'm getting great images but they seem good enough to my eye, so that's just what I'm going with. I try to make this process as uncomplicated as possible, and as you can see, it does take a couple of steps, but I think it's really worthwhile to get some really nice images of my layouts, since I do spend a lot of time making them, and also making the process videos. It's nice to have some good detailed images at the end of the process video, because you can't always see and appreciate all of the detail when you're looking at it from several inches above on a camcorder, as opposed to a nice DSLR high quality image. So that's my process. Now I just put everything away. So because I'm terrible at remembering things, I need a process for making sure that the batteries don't run out in these sorts of things like the triggers and stuff. So what this is this is the trigger that talks to the trigger over there, which is connected to the flash. So this tells that trigger that I'm pressing the button, and then that trigger tells the flash to go off. So that's what these extra things are that are on my cameras and over there. If I leave these on, I'm going to end up with drained batteries the next time I go to take pictures, and that's frustrating and I hate it when that happens. So I have developed a way to remember to turn everything off. So basically when I put the lens cap on, I turn this off. So I know that if the lens cap is on, this is off. And that way I can tell at a glance when I walk out of my room. If this is on there, I can walk out of my room without checking to make sure that this is off. Then I put this in that same spot that I showed you that's kind of like a little pass-through. And this is the wire. This right here is the wire that I use to connect to my computer. So for wire management, so that I don't have an extra wire always on my desk, I just hang this there with the Velcro that connects this to the back of my desk. Basically that just covers up the messy wires and stuff. So then I can have this out here because I'm going to need it when I go to put those on my computer. Then my strategy for remembering this is that if the umbrella is open, everything is on. And so I'm going to pick up this piece of foam board and put it away. It goes right in here. And then as I take this off, I'm going to turn this off and turn this off. Now I know everything is away. Now I know everything is off. So I can put this back where I got it. Then these two I know are off because my umbrella is down. And so that way if I get interrupted in the middle of doing this, it just helps with my workflow because I often am interrupted. Then I just close that up and put it right back in the corner where it was. And so there it is, back where it belongs. The foam board is back where it belongs. My camera is right there and ready for me to get the pictures off of it. My layout is back there and ready for me to grab it when I'm ready to read the journaling when I do the process video. So even though that all seemed to take a while because I was talking about it and explaining it and showing you everything, as I mentioned, that only takes me 4 minutes to do. And whenever I feel like, oh, I don't want to take those stupid pictures, I always remind myself it's only 4 minutes. So timing myself one time actually really helped me to have a much more positive attitude about taking the photos. So that's it for now. This is just a little video for anybody who was interested in my process. It's more of just sharing my process as opposed to a tutorial on how to take photos, because I don't think everybody needs the same kind of setup that I have. This is just what I have found that works, and a number of people had expressed some interest in seeing how I do it, so that's how I do it. But I encourage you to try to find a strategy that works for you. And I think just knowing yourself and knowing, you know, things about yourself. Like, for example, I know that I forget to turn things off, so I've worked that into my workflow. I also know that I tend to be negative about the idea of taking photos, so I timed myself one time so that I could remind myself 4 minutes, that's all it takes. So I encourage you to figure out what works for your workflow so that you can take beautiful photos of your wonderful layouts that you spend so much time making and share them with the world. So take care and have a really great scrappy week.